Okay, I think we are live. Let me just double check the health of the stream and make sure everything's looking good. All right, what's up, everybody? Looks like we're here. Looks like we're live. So, here it is, finally, the debate with Godless Engineer. I like to call him Soulless Engineer or ad hom Engineer. I'm sure he has a thing or two to say about my mustache, but that's okay. Let me just double check. Everything looks like it's good. Okay, well, listen, John, why don't you go ahead and maybe just introduce yourself real quick to my viewers?
Okay. Well, so hi, I'm the Godless Engineer, and I run the YouTube channel with my fiance, KC. But I'm the one that produces all the content there. But I'm Godless Engineer. I'm also on Facebook at Godless Engineer. I'm on Twitter, Godless Engineer. So thanks for doing this conversation / debate kind of thing with me.
Hey, man, I appreciate you coming on. This should be fun. Okay, so before we kind of get into it, I guess, I just want to reestablish the sort of agreement that we had in advance, which was I'm not going to have and you're not going to have any Discord, any text message groups. You're not going to have any backup or any help from anybody. It's just my mind versus your mind. Is that right, John?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have, I'm simulcasting it on my channel too, so
Okay.
I mean, there's
Well,
the comment section, but I mean, other than
well,
that,
you know what? I'm gonna hide my chat, and so I won't be able to look at my chat. And you should probably do the same. So it's the way we agreed to, just my mind versus yours.
okay. Well,
Because
I'm
the
I'm
people in
not.
the chat, they're going to be giving us, they're going to be rooting for us and giving us all types of answers. So I think it's best if we just stick mind to mind.
Well, I mean, I feel like on the fly, it's a little hard to, like get those kind of answers from the chat. So, I mean, generally, I don't. I try. I don't look to the chat to
Well,
get my answers if I
that's
don't know
fine, but you
something
don't have to have the
specifically.
chat up, right? Like, it's not
Huh?
necessary. You don't have to have the chat up. Like, I just minimized it. I'm not going to be looking at the chat, so you can do the same, right?
Well, yeah, I don't have it up. I don't have it
Okay.
like.
Right, I just want to make sure, as we agreed, that it's your mind versus my mind with no backup, no babysitters in the background giving us answers, none of that stuff. Okay?
Okay.
All right, sounds good. So now that I got you on that, that's great. Well, John, here's the problem, man. I'm a globe skeptic. You've called me a flat earther before, but I don't call myself a flat earther yet. I'm just a globe skeptic. I found too many holes with what they tell us as proofs of the spinning ball, and
Okay.
so that's what started me on this journey of skepticism, and that's why I'm here. So I don't know if you have anything to say in response to that.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of curious as to what specifically, you have issues with, I guess, because I mean, see, for me, it's kind of, I mean, it's settled science, and plus the fact that there's um, mountains of evidence for it.
I'm sorry. Are you still there?
What? Huh?
No, sorry, you cut off for a second.
Oh. Uh, so I mean, I don't understand what you could not be convinced of. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what is like one of the hangups that you have, or what's your best hangup
Yeah,
for?
here's what happened, man. So I was born and raised to think we live on a spinning ball in space like everybody else. Through the public schooling system, through the social conditioning, it's what pretty much most people believe. As you know, most people. I mean, I don't know what the statistical poll numbers are, but I think most people think they live on a spinning ball flying through space. The problem is some of the most slam dunk proofs that they present to us in school, like ships disappearing bottom up, for example. Turns out that after flat earthers started asking those questions about these slam dunk proofs, It turns out that now the globe side has to present all these big caveats and asterisks next to the old slam dunk proofs. For example, ships disappearing bottom up. Bill Nye the Science Guy in his old kids show, in the textbooks, when they talk about the ancient Greeks and how the ancient Greeks observed ships disappearing bottom up, and clearly that's how you know that we live on a spinning ball, because things are disappearing behind the curvature. Turns out now, sometimes ships aren't disappearing bottom up. Indeed, sometimes buildings aren't disappearing bottom up. And now the big caveat that now they're telling us about, that now the globe defenders are telling us about now, is refraction. So if you can see a boat or a lighthouse that's supposed to be hidden by Earth's curvature, but it turns out you can see basically the whole thing, it's because refraction is looming it up. Now, I don't deny that refraction is a real thing, but I find it interesting. You ask me, why would I ever become a globe skeptic? I find it very fascinating that the slam dunk proofs that they presented as is, ships disappear bottom up, Bill Nye said it, that's it, there's your proof. There's a big caveat. There's a big, oh wait, we forgot to tell you, sometimes it looks flat. It doesn't look like it's disappeared behind curvature, and refraction is bending it up. And before I finish this, let me just add the one other quick thing. Another good example of how they move the globe post. They moved the globe post when flat earthers started looking into it was with Eratosthenes. And it turns out that Eratosthenes' 2 wells were not sufficient to prove the shape of the earth, let alone assuming the sun is 93 million miles away and the light rays come in parallel. Putting all that aside, Neil deGrasse Tyson came out and said, oh shit, in response to flat earthers, oh, he actually needed 3 wells to prove it's an Earth. 2 wells are insufficient. So that's what I'm talking about. This sort of moving the globe post and always having these caveats and asterisks that they don't tell you about in school. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, are you done?
Yep.
Okay, hold on. I'm finishing up a note real quick.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so let me start from the first thing. So you could you explain that the role, at least in your eyes, that refraction plays when you're looking at something from like across, like if you're trying to look at something across water or even across land, even though refraction has a little bit less of an effect there. When you're looking across water and you're seeing something and it's disappearing from bottom up or whatnot, like what role do you think refraction plays in that?
Well, according to the Globers, it's downward refraction. Downward refraction is causing, for example, the lighthouse that I've observed is causing. So if, for example, you go out and you see a lighthouse that's supposed to be hidden by the Earth's curvature, but it's not, they say, the globe side says that that's downward refraction. And I don't deny that refraction is a real thing. I just find it very fascinating that that's not what they tell you when they say ships disappear bottom up as slam dunk proof that we live on a globe.
Okay, so I guess I don't get why refraction is causing you to doubt the ships going over the curve, because I mean like there is noticeable refraction happening, like even in your video that you posted, I believe it was earlier today maybe.
Oh, God. Sorry.
Where you saw the boat and it was like refracted, like you could tell because there was a reflection, and I mean that's caused by refraction.
Which video are you talking about? Are you talking about the one where it's like the most shocking flat Earth proof, and I zoom in on a little boat?
Well, I mean, you uploaded a video today where you were reviewing comments on that particular video. Yeah. So you like I don't understand why refraction causes you to doubt that particular.
No, I'm not saying that refraction causes me to doubt. I'm talking about moving of the globe post. You asked me, why have I become a globe skeptic? And the reason is because of the never-ending moving of the globe post by the globe side, such as they present objects disappearing into the distance bottom up due to obstruction, curvature of the earth, they present that as slam dunk proof. But now that there's a flat earth debate happening, thanks to the internet, which they want to censor and shut down, at least the flat Earth debate, at least the flat Earth debate element of it. Now, so they moved the goalposts and they said it's because bottom up obstruction, but it's not, because now they're saying it's actually refraction is lifting it up. So that's my point. Refraction is real, refraction exists, refraction is real, but yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I need to correct you on something real quick.
Yep.
So actually, Samuel Rowbotham in the late 19th century is the one that started this whole questioning the shape of the Earth. And that persisted throughout the 20th century, leading us up to today. Now, the quote-unquote flat Earth revolution or whatnot that happened online, true, that didn't start until about 2010 or so. But there were adherents to the whole flat Earth theory after Rowbotham.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Rowbotham. I'm talking about the modern internet version. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a little disingenuous to act like it only recently started when it's.
I never said it recently started. I'm talking about. I never said it recently started. I'm talking about the internet version of it, which is unlike anything we've seen in the history of flat Earth. Samuel Rowbotham's one dude with a book. I'm talking about this crazy hive mind of people debating this topic every week, like you and I are doing. That's what I was talking about.
Well, no, I understand that's what you're talking about, but I mean, you have to understand that, like, it wasn't just like Samuel Rowbotham said some crazy shit and then he died out, and then all of a sudden, boop, it popped up again. I mean, the ideas that Rowbotham put out there persisted throughout the 20th century, albeit not in a very mainstream way or a very visible way.
That's what I'm talking about.
I know that's not what you're talking about. I know you're talking about. Anyways, we're getting wrapped up in that.
Yeah, indeed we are.
So you said earlier that it's been shown now that things do not disappear from bottom up on occasion, that they actually disappear. How?
Yeah, sometimes they disappear bottom up. Sometimes they're fully visible.
Well, no, it's either they disappear bottom up, or do they disappear from top down, left to right, right to left?
Oh yeah, well, here's the funny thing is that, and I wouldn't attribute this to flat earthers, but it turns out that things on the horizon is far more complex than just Bill Nye the Science Guy telling people, on his kid show, showing a little demonstration of a ship disappearing bottom up. It's a lot more complicated than that, turns out. Turns out the horizon and the way vision and light works at distance is a far more complicated thing than simply telling people ships disappear bottom up at distance, buildings disappear bottom up at distance, we live on a globe. Turns out it's a lot more complicated than that. Turns out you have miraging effects. You have things like the inferior mirage, which I've documented a million times with my P1000, where right above the waterline at the horizon, you have this mirrored inverted effect, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And it will literally obstruct the bottom portion of buildings, trees, and things you're looking at in the distance. And it's a real phenomenon, and it's a real thing. So it's a lot more complicated than that. You have instances where you
What causes that?
I'm sorry?
What causes that?
What causes inferior mirages?
Yes.
What causes it?
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Well, I'm asking you, what causes it?
But I mean, I asked you first. If you don't know, that's fine. Just say you don't know.
Oh, you know?
I do know.
Oh, go for it.
Are you saying that you don't know?
What? Actually, you know what? Let me give it a shot first, and since you're going to try to use that as a gotcha moment, let me give it a shot.
Yeah, I'm not trying to use it as a gotcha moment.
Okay, that's fine. But let me give it.
I'm just trying to see.
That's fine. Let me give it a shot. I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot because I've looked into it, but not enough to recount it off the top of my head. From my understanding, these miraging effects, including I think the inferior mirage, it's actually a trick of the mind, from what I understand, and it has to do because I believe the human brain assumes that light travels in straight lines, and so when light is being refracted, it's bending, right? It's changing its direction. And so I believe that the actual inferior mirage is not a it's not like a tangible thing taking place out there per se. It's part based on the mind messing with light as it processes it. So there's my shot.
Okay. Well, I mean, the reason why is because of refraction, but I mean, it's not necessarily a trick of the mind. It's just the way that the information is being broadcasted to you through the light. I mean, that like it inverts the image. Like that's I mean, that's just what happens. That's how light is propagated like over water, so to say. I mean, you get the same effect when you have long stretches of road. The light bends over it, and you see basically a mirage, like an upside down sort of mirage coming over the other side because of how the light bends over the curvature of the Earth.
Right, but isn't it also part? Isn't it also part? The mind is like your brain is flipping. I mean, I definitely think that's the case with the superior mirages, but I think it's. I don't think it's just the light is bending and that's what it looks like to your eyes. I think the brain kind of has like it has a way of interpreting refracted light that it causes the miraging effects, from my understanding.
Okay, well, I mean, it's not a trick of the brain or anything like that. It's just how we perceive the light that's coming over the curve of the Earth. But I get that you don't believe in the curve of the Earth, so I'm kind of curious. Why do you think that stuff disappears bottom up?
Well, let me again correct you there. It's not that I don't believe in the curve of the Earth. I'm a globe skeptic. I'm open-minded to the globe being to the notion that we live on a ball. I'm very open-minded to that. I am not completely a flat earther. I don't call myself a flat earther. I'm just on the fence right now. That genuinely is what I am. So there may be curvature. I just want to see it. I just want concrete, tangible proof. And every time I go out with my P1000 and I look out there, I don't just get Bill Nye telling me, hey, things disappear bottom up. We live on a globe. Sometimes I go out there, and according to you guys, the things that I'm looking at are looming up. They're refracting up, and I can suddenly see what's supposed to be hidden behind curvature. So I just want something that's concrete, and that's what I can't get. I can't get concrete proof that we live on a globe. Just can't find it. I've been looking. I can't find it. Please, show me some actual proof. And show me something that can be tested, not pictures from something that no one can falsify.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can legit watch like a couple of types of videos that exist out there that show like the curvature of the Earth and how the light bends over it and the effects of the curve of the Earth. And so sorry, I had KC come and get me a beer. Since we're just having a common discussion, I wasn't asking her for anything or whatnot. Just getting.
Yeah, I mean, stop. You don't even have to bring it up. I mean, you said keep personal stuff out of it, so let's do that. Don't stop bringing it up.
Okay, I was just being completely transparent on my end. Anyways,
right.
So
well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so the one kind of video that you can watch are actual ships that are that are on that horizon line. Even when you zoom in using your P1000s or P900s, you can zoom in and you can literally see them disappearing. Now, it's not that they're getting smaller or anything like that. Like, their angular resolution is not changing. They are legit like being covered up by the curvature of the Earth. And that is actually the first inclination that we had, that we lived on a globe. You had these ancient mariners who would look at ships through their not telescopes. Their what's the thing? What's the thing on ships? I can't remember what they're called right now. Anyways, they were looking through basically like the monocle binoculars, if you will, and they would see the ships disappearing over the curve. And so that's our first inkling of it. So you mentioned earlier that Eratosthenes is incorrectly used to prove that the Earth is a globe, and I can agree with you somewhat on the fact that it doesn't prove a globe. But what Eratosthenes does is he was able to first estimate, like, within a high percentage, or not high percentage, but like a low percent of error, like the circumference of the Earth. Now, of course, this needed an understanding that the Earth is a globe. But you see, the problem is that as you add more data points to that particular experiment, you see that the flat Earth actually gets destroyed in the evidence, because what you have is on a flat Earth you would have a linear progression of the shadow, but on a globe Earth, like in actual reality, you don't have a linear progression like of the shadow. If you add more points to it, the shadow gets longer and longer and longer. Angular, not angular, but the angle of the rays that are hitting the Earth.
Okay, let's go back to angular resolution because you basically I'm not gonna say you debunked it, but you kind of like toss it aside like there's no argument there. Um, yeah, it's been demonstrated many times now that things will disappear bottom up due to the angular resolution limit of your eye or the camera, whatever you're using to look at something. People have done experiments. They'll go to like a Walmart or some type of building with a nice flat hallway, long hallway. They'll get a flashlight and they'll walk to the other side of the hallway. And so on one side, you have a little flashlight and they place it on the floor. They go all the way to the other side of the hallway with a little camera and they start to lower the camera closer and closer to the floor, pointed at the flashlight like 300 feet away. A presumably level floor, flat floor. Now I know you guys say that level technically isn't flat, it's technically conforming to the center of gravity of the Earth, which fine, we'll concede that for half a second here. But it's a pretty flat floor. It's obviously it's measured with the Earth's curvature, but unless you're suggesting that at 300 feet of a hallway, there's substantial curve. Either way, so you're on this hallway. As they lower the camera closer to the floor, before the camera even hits the floor, the light blinks out of view. It's gone because of the angular resolution limit and the diffraction limit of the camera. It's been repeated. Many people have done it. I want to go do it. And there's some pretty fascinating but very in-depth, I'm going to use the word science. You may not believe me, but I'm going to say it. There's hardcore science behind it. So I do not accept that angular resolution cannot cause things to disappear bottom up. I do not accept that.
But could you explain the experiment again? Is this the experiment where, like, you have a quarter on the floor, and as you lower the camera, like, it disappears because the quarter is flush with the floor?
No, I mean it might be similar. I've never heard of this quarter experiment, but no, you use a flashlight, put the flashlight on the floor, it's resting on the floor, and again you walk away 300 feet on a flat floor, unless the construction crew that builds Walmart floors don't know how to level floors properly. You walk 300 feet away from the flashlight with a camera. You point the camera to the flashlight all the way to the other side, and as you lower your camera, before your camera even touches the floor, the light will blink out of view, because that's how the physics of light and vision work. And I was surprised by this, but I heard about it recently. I saw a bunch of people doing videos, and it all seems pretty sound to me.
Okay, so let me get this straight real quick. First of all, you think that it's improbable that people that installed this floor or this hallway could have fucked up and it has some bumps, or it has some, not exactly level, stuff in it. You think that's improbable, and it's more probable that it's perfectly flat.
I mean, I think that the flashlight disappears out of view when the camera is inches above the floor.
Okay.
And so I guess my point is that had to be a pretty fucking crooked ass floor. And again, people have done it on very different floors. People have done it in very different. It's not like they all just go to Walmart. Some people do it in like hallways at their offices and shit. And the science that's given for why that's caused, not because the floor is uneven and crooked, but literally due to angular resolution, diffraction limits, and how light works with your camera, your aperture, or your eyeball, whatever the hell you're using to observe. That's the science makes perfect sense as to why that takes place. Makes perfect sense.
Okay, so you're trying to tell me that the same camera that you put like flush against the beach in order to get it as flush with sea level as you can make it has the ability to zoom in on ships that are miles away, literally miles away. But this same camera in a hallway on a floor
Not the same
that
camera.
could or could not be
It's not the same camera.
level
It's not the same
has
camera.
apparently lost.
It's not the same
object
camera.
300 feet.
It's not the same camera. And
Well,
here's the thing. Here's
regardless,
how the diffraction limit works. The diffraction limit is dependent on the size of your aperture, and a bigger aperture will allow you to see further. So, for example, whereas let's say you do the same hallway experiment, you put a flashlight on the floor at one end, you walk 300 feet to the other side of the hallway, and let's say you have two different cameras. Let's say you have a little cell phone camera with a tiny little lens and a tiny little aperture. And you also have a big ass fucking P1000, like I have a P1000. If you start lowering your cell phone camera and the P1000, let's say you put them at the exact same height next to each other, you start lowering both cameras at the exact same height, at the exact same rate, the flashlight will disappear out of the small cell phone camera before it will disappear out of the Nikon P1000. In fact, at 300 feet with the Nikon P1000 placed literally on the floor, the flashlight will probably not disappear because it's still within the diffraction limit of the P1000 with its big ass aperture. Whereas your cell phone camera, for example, with a smaller aperture, has a much smaller diffraction limit. It's surprising, but I looked into it, for hours, and no one denies that cameras have diffraction limits. It's real. It's a real thing.
Okay, but what exactly does aperture like affect? I mean, do you know? Like,
Yeah, well, the aperture is like the opening through which light enters the camera, or through which light enters, sorry, my screen froze, or through which light enters your eye. So the size of the aperture is different depending on the instrument you're using to observe. And the diffraction limit is basically dependent on how big the aperture is. I just said it, that's literally what it is. And the smaller the aperture size, the smaller the diffraction limit is. It's just the way it is, just the way vision works. It ties into the Rayleigh criterion, ties into Airy's discs. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Okay, well, I mean, so the aperture actually deals with angular resolution or whatnot, like the resolution of the image, and it doesn't deal with the zooming in of things. Like for instance, when if you have like a camera like your P900 or P1000, I don't know if it has like an automatic focusing thing, but that's what it's messing with, is the aperture. It's messing with the aperture and it's causing it to focus, right? Aperture, whatever.
Yeah, it's aperture. You can mess with the aperture. That is definitely part of what you can do, and you can manipulate the shutter speed to let more light in and all this great stuff. But I believe there's a default base limit, depending on whatever lens you're using, whether it's your eye, whether it is a P1000, there's a base limit, and adjusting the aperture, there's just a limit to that. And you can probably make it a little bigger, make it a little wider. And indeed, in these hallway experiments, you could probably mess with the aperture, and if you make the aperture smaller, you can probably cause the flashlight to disappear, even on a P1000, before the camera even hits the floor. So yeah.
Well, what I hear is a lot of hypothetical experiments.
No, it's not hypothetical. People have done it a million times with cameras and stuff.
Okay, well, I mean, I hear a lot of hypothetical experiments that you're conducting in your head and then proclaiming the results of those.
I'm sorry, what's hypothetical about people going out with cameras into hallways and doing it, multiple people doing it? What's hypothetical about that?
Well, for one thing, you claim that the two experiments there would use two different cameras. And you're not testing the one camera at the sea level to see how far it can see out. So if you had two P900s and you tested one in a hallway and one at sea level, as flush against the sea level as it can be, like you're hypothetically running those two experiments in order to see if that's the actual truth, and you're returning this conclusion that you haven't even actually tested. And I'm fairly certain that the P900 or P1000 in the hallway would not be able to see the flashlight due to the imperfections in the floor, but yet at sea level it could see for miles out, because I mean, how vision works is not the way that you think it works.
You don't even know what I'm talking about, bro. Like, you're saying this is just your crazy, unfounded hypothesis, but you don't even know what I'm talking about. You haven't even looked into it. So we can just be like, hey, we'll look into it and come back another time. We can just leave that topic
we won't look into it, and we won't. I mean, because I'm not sitting here like pulling something out of my ass.
Neither am I. I've looked into it. I've spent like 8 hours looking into it. So I'm not pulling it out of my ass, but I think it might have been one of the first times you've heard about it, and that's okay. I don't know everything you're going to say. You don't know everything I'm going to say. So if there's something you want to look into and come back later, okay, fine. That's all right.
I'm telling you, I don't have to look into it because I know what the experiments would bring back, because I know how light actually operates.
Good luck, buddy. Go ahead and come back to me later when you look into it, and you tell me if your debunking here holds to the scrutiny and holds to the science. Good luck.
Okay, so why don't have you explained to me exactly why is it that ships disappear from bottom up? I know that you said that it was angular size or whatnot, but I mean, that doesn't actually explain it, because when you look at these experiments of ships going over, not experiments, these observations of ships going over the curve, you see them disappearing bottom up, but they don't get smaller from bottom up. Now, I'm kind of curious, do you think that we live in some kind of weird magical world where the ship's bottom
Hey, I'm sorry, you cut off.
Faster
I'm sorry, you cut off. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm sorry, you cut off. You cut off. I'm sorry. Could you repeat the last like 2 sentences?
Do you think that a ship, as it's going out of your eyesight, the bottom of the ship starts going infinitely faster and disappearing almost to show no discernible angular size like change, but then the top stays relatively, but the bottom, and as it moves on up, like, do you think that it's like a friggin' starship kind of drive that gets things out of our field of view? What do you think causes it to disappear but not get smaller?
That is literally what I was saying earlier. When you go out to these hallways and you perform these experiments, and I'll send you a link later so you can take a look and you can look at it and see what you think. Multiple people have done it. People have gotten two cameras, different aperture sizes, put them at the exact same height. The flashlight will disappear from the bottom. It will disappear from the bottom before the cameras even reach the floor. So that'd be some massive surface imperfections you're talking about over 300 feet, that the light would disappear out of view from a cell phone camera just by raising it up like 8 inches off the floor. And then when you lower it beneath 6 or 5 or 6 inches, when you get below that little threshold, 5 or 6 inches off the floor, you can't see the flashlight anymore. So I don't know. I don't know what else to tell you on this topic. I don't know what else to tell you.
You're pulling an equivalence fallacy here because the hallway is not equivalent to watching ships disappear over the curve.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Ships. I think things.
The definition of an equivalence.
So some dude who's some really smart dude. He did it's like a 7-hour presentation on this very topic: angular resolution, diffraction limits, all that good stuff. And he saw some of my observations. I was able to capture buildings that were 17 miles away, and he calculated, because it was a really clear day, and from what I understand, he looked up the temperatures that day when I caught that observation, and the temperature of the water was very similar to the temperature in the air that day. And so according to him, because that was the same day, I can see like everything. Like, I mean, you can see everything. It was incredible. You can see everything. Now you'll call it refraction, that's fine, but I could see everything. But as you got really, really far out, and we're talking like 20 or so, 17 to 20 miles, you could start to see things disappear bottom up. And by the way, it's supposed to be hidden by a lot more than what I could see. But you could start to see things slowly, like 30 feet or so. And this guy calculated the angular resolution limits involved, the distances, and based on the calculations of the diffraction limits, it was missing by how much it should be missing based on how this whole process works.
Okay. I still am not understanding how the angular resolution works in your particular world here, because angular.
It's science, hold on, man. It's science.
The angular resolution is just how much of the objects from a distance that you can discern, like how visible, like how sharp are these images is what it is. It doesn't control like how like it disappearing or anything like that.
We're also talking about diffraction limits.
Hold on. If it were,
limits, not angular resolution,
you would see a gradual change from top to bottom. Like you would see a gradual change from top to bottom, it getting smaller and disappearing. But you don't see that in reality.
You do. You see flashlights disappear on the bottom. You see flashlights disappear on the bottom. It's been repeated. It's really easy. It's been repeated many times. You literally see the flashlight disappear. The bottom disappears from your vision. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. It's been repeated. It's been done many times. I don't know what else to tell you about it, bro.
Well, and I told you my problems with that.
All right. Well, then we're going to have to look at that, because you're saying the flashlight won't disappear bottom up. I don't know what else to tell you.
What are my issues with the hallway experiment?
You tell me. They're your issues.
Huh?
You tell me they're your issues.
I have already told you.
I'm not going to sit here and repeat your nonsense. You repeat it. Repeat it. If you want to hear it again, repeat it.
Okay, my problem with that is that you're in a hallway that could be, and most likely is, imperfectly constructed.
I know. Hey, listen. You want to believe that a flat level, professionally constructed hallway floor is full of so many imperfections that a camera 5 inches above the floor is not going to be able to see a flashlight 300 feet away. You want to believe that, then that's fine. And there's nothing else to say on this matter.
Okay. Well, I can see that we're at an impasse, because you seem to want to use a 300-foot hallway and compare it to other things, and you're not also wanting to explain why things instantaneously disappear.
I already told you about a 17-mile observation, brother.
Huh?
Is my audio not going through well or something?
No, then you're talking over me, but I continue talking because I was.
So 17 miles, yeah, it's been demonstrated over 17 miles as well. Things disappearing bottom up. It could absolutely happen due to the diffraction limit. It's just that simple.
You're not explaining to me why it instantaneously disappears instead of gradually gets smaller.
It does.
It does not gradually get smaller. They instantaneously disappear bottom up.
Well, as something gets further away from you, it will start to disappear bottom up. You call that curvature when there's another explanation, unfortunately for you guys.
Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. What'd you say?
You say it disappears bottom up due to curvature,
Hmm.
and there's another explanation for it.
Well, yeah, but if your explanation is angular resolution, I'm still saying that you're wrong.
Okay, congratulations, bro. And people can go check it out for themselves. I'm not trying to convince a cult member who hasn't even looked into
I'm
this
not.
deeply.
Well, I mean, to be quite honest, I'm
You
not
haven't
trying
even
to.
looked into it. I spent like 8 hours looking into it, and you've never even heard of it, and you're like, impossible. That's fine. Let the audience decide. I don't care.
Okay, you're like you're still not explaining the instantaneous change, and that's fine. We can move on to a different topic if you'd rather.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously, you haven't looked into it enough, so that's fine. Let's move
Well, I
on.
have looked into it. You seem to be focused on the angular resolution, but that doesn't actually.
You don't even understand. The diffraction limit plays a role too. You keep saying angular resolution. That's part of it. Diffraction limits matter too, bro, with apertures.
Well, yeah, but none. Okay, listen, none of
Dude,
that.
you didn't even know how to pronounce aperture, bro. Go look into this a little deeper.
Are you really going to shit on me for mispronouncing
Yes,
a couple times?
yes,
Like, I pronounced it
yes.
fine a couple of times, and I mispronounced it like one or two times, and then I jumped back on track. Like, there's no reason to shit on me for how I
Listen,
pronounced it. Okay?
don't shit on my mustache because it's a great mustache.
What?
Dude, I think the friend in your room heard it, but you didn't fucking hear it.
That's because the speaker is away from the mic so that you don't get feedback.
Anyways, my mustache is great. Don't shit on my mustache, and maybe I won't shit on your whatever.
I shit on your mustache
Maybe
in
I
this
won't shit on your mustache. My mustache is fantastic, okay? I don't care what you say.
Have I shit on your mustache this entire conversation?
Listen, your mustache could look way better if you do what I do. I'm not even joking. That handlebar
I'm not
shit,
gonna look like
no
this bastard, bro.
handlebar shit, dude. You gotta do this. This is the only cool way to handle the mustache. Period. End of story. I don't care what anybody says.
Okay, so can you please explain gravity for me? Like, I figured that's probably one of the hangups that you have. I guess I should first ask, is gravity one of your hangups? And if so, can you explain why things fall without gravity?
First of all, is there any proof, scientific proof of gravity?
Yes, we have the scientific theory of gravity or gravitational force, and then there's also the law of gravity that mathematically describes the force.
Okay, how about a scientific evidence proving it?
Well, yeah, there's multiple bits of scientific evidence. I mean, obviously, there's the Cavendish experiment, which you're going to
Cavendish is not an experiment.
Huh?
Cavendish is not an experiment.
Cavendish is an experiment.
It's not a scientific experiment. It's not a scientific experiment. It doesn't have proper considerations for independent, dependent variables, let alone the fact that Cavendish stood, how many meters away he stood from the little shack with the balls? And he looked at the balls through a telescope because he thought that his body, the gravitational mass of his body was going to maybe hinder the balls in his shed. So he looked at it through a telescope, and yet they tell us that the tides on Earth are caused by the moon's gravity, but the moon is not going to maybe mess with Cavendish's balls in his shed, but he had to keep his little body far away. I mean, Cavendish is embarrassing, dude.
Okay, so you're basically shitting on Cavendish for isolating variables and whatnot, trying to have a good experiment, but then you're also shitting on him for not isolating variables.
I did not say that that the problem with Cavendish was that he isolated variables. He failed to do it. He failed to do it according to the scientific method properly.
No, you say that he didn't isolate variables, and so you say that that's a problem with it, but then you shit on him for isolating a variable.
The moon affects the tides, but it won't affect his balls in a shed.
The moon does affect the tides. That's you're comparing two things of different sizes.
No, I'm not. He moved his body away because he was afraid that his body would affect the experiment, the gravitational mass, but he made no considerations for the moon's gravitational mass.
Do you think Cavendish is as big as the moon?
That's not the point. That's actually wait a minute.
No, that's
That is
actually
my point. That is my point. The Earth, the moon is going to have a massive effect. If it's affecting tides, why won't it disrupt his little balls in a shed experiment that he had to stand 300 meters away from because he was afraid he was going to mess with it? It's a joke.
Okay, do you know why he would have done that?
He would have done it because he thought that it was going to inhibit the experiment. Meanwhile, the moon is affecting it the way it affects the tides, so it's a joke.
So, can you explain the law of gravity for me?
The law of gravity. I don't care to answer within your paradigm. There's no proof that gravity exists.
Well, don't you kind of have to know my paradigm in order to suggest that my paradigm doesn't explain shit?
Well, I don't care about your law versus your, like you mentioned law versus mathematical proof of gravity and all this stuff. I want you straight up hardcore scientific method 101. Prove that gravity exists. And there's come on, man. You never see, we don't, at best there's a downward force, which obviously there's a lot of dispute, and I'm not even sure what side of the fence I sit on this topic, but I believe that, hey, there's probably a downward force. Why not? There's a downward force. Now, there isn't a force to center of mass, like, the globe model requires. A lot of flat earthers will say it's just buoyancy and density. I tend to think, you know what? There's probably buoyancy, density, and there's probably a downward force. Why the hell not? There's a downward force all across this potential flat earth. Because again, I'm just a globe skeptic, not a flat earther.
Okay, can you explain the formula for the buoyant force?
Do you know Einstein's theory of relativity, but do you know the actual equations behind it?
Well, I mean, no, but I'm also not trying to use that in order to say that
cool.
Einstein was wrong or anything like that.
I just want to make sure
I don't have to know that. These are basic things. Like, I'm not bringing up special relativity or general relativity or anything like that. Like, you don't have to know those things in order to, like, prove that gravity is an actual thing.
Right. So, and my point is just that you don't have to know. You don't have to know the equations to understand the principles at work in something. So if you want to ask me what the formula, if you want to ask me what the formula is, go ahead and ask me the formula. If you want to ask me the formula, go ahead and ask me. Go for it.
Okay, so I mean, you realize that like the buoyant force requires gravity, or this dropity, as you put it, to exist. Like, because the buoyant force requires some force like pulling down on an object. Like, objects are attracted to each other. That's what Cavendish proved. And since objects are attracted to each other, we can calculate those exactly. Now, in order to suggest that reality doesn't work the way that we've known it to, you need to come up with some kind of mathematical formula that rivals the law of gravity to explain that attraction, that force between a couple of things. And so everything that has matter in the universe attracts to other matter. And we can measure this and exactly calculate how much force it is. But you're throwing that all out the window. And that's why you don't need to bring Einstein into this or anything.
Are you done, dude? I thought you were. Are you
These
done
are
yet?
basic concepts.
Are you done yet?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. I say, why can't there just be a downward force? We never experience things pulling to center of mass. You can go anywhere on the so-called globe Earth. You can travel. You'll never see curvature, by the way. You'll never see it. I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson says you can't see it from 128,000 feet altitude, let alone 35,000 feet from your average commercial airliner. You'll never see curvature. You'll never feel it. You can travel all around the so-called globe. You'll never feel it. And what you call gravity, I just call a universal downward force. That's all it is.
Dropity.
Sure, whatever you want. But I sure as hell have never experienced things pulling to the center of mass.
You experience something pulling to the center of mass every single day.
Center of mass is different than down, bro.
Center of mass is different than down. That's why Australians don't hang upside down on a ball.
Well, the direction of gravity, the direction of the drop, the direction of the pull changes directions for people in Australia compared to people in North America, for example.
Well,
I
yeah,
don't
that's explained by
experience that.
gravity.
I don't experience down ever changing direction. I could get on a 12-hour flight, fly halfway around the so-called globe, and down is always under my feet. I could, going 500 miles an hour on an airplane, I could have the flight attendant could roll on out. She could pour me a beverage, and I could sip the beverage, and I won't even spill a drop as I'm going around the curve. Supposedly. Down is all we ever experience. You're telling me that down changes directions. I'm saying all I ever experience is down.
Do you know why down changes direction?
Duh. Because gravity, according to your model, pulls to the center of mass.
Right. Gravity pulls the center of mass. So if you're on a globe and you go around the globe and gravity is pulling to the center of mass, where is down constantly?
Well, on your model, it changes direction, bro.
Well, no, it doesn't necessarily change direction because it's always right beneath your feet because down
It
is always
changes direction,
towards
bro.
the
It
center of
changes
gravity.
direction. Don't deny it changes
Center of
direction. It's
the
going to look really bad for you, dude. Don't deny that. It changes direction, bro.
Well, no, it does. It does not change direction. It always pulls. Like when you say that gravity pulls to the center of mass, then gravity is not changing direction.
Okay, I'll put it to you like this. Let's say you have somebody standing in North America, right? They drop an apple out of their hand and it starts heading in a direction. And let's say that apple, let's just say it heads in that direction for infinity. Just it keeps going forever. Then you have somebody on the other side of the globe in Australia. They drop an apple. And imagine that apple keeps moving in that down direction to the center of Earth. It keeps going. Those are two different directions.
No, they're not.
All right, how about this? Let me ask you this question. 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 Are people in Australia, are their heads, if somebody in Australia points up and somebody in North America points up, are they pointing in the same direction?
No, because we're on a globe, and they're pointing the direction of up. Are you talking about whether they would be pointing like at the same constellations or something like that? Then no, they wouldn't be. They're pointing in the relative direction of up, which is different for every person on the earth. Up, down, left, right, those are relative.
Yes, and that was my point with the apple as well. Down is a different direction depending on what side of the globe you're on. Like, yes, you can say that down is technically towards the center of the earth. Nobody's denying that. But the direction of things falling are changing direction. Physical, actual direction. The direction of the fall is different. The orientation is different.
You're looking at it from a reference frame that's outside of the globe Earth and specifically in that three-dimensional plane where that vector is pointing. But within the reference frame of the person on the globe, the vector of that direction will always be pointing like down towards the center of mass of the Earth.
Right, down.
So it's not changing direction.
It is changing direction.
Pointing towards the center of mass, which is the direction.
Yeah, it's obvious. I mean, this is so elementary and obvious that, I mean, I don't know how anybody, I mean, other than a brainwashed cult member could not see right through it. And I'm not saying you, I'm just saying anybody who doesn't get it, who's watching, I mean, it should be very obvious. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. It seems like you're defining direction strictly by center of mass. And that's not what I'm talking about. My point is simply, no matter where I go on Earth, at any point in my life, even if I get on a plane And according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, you can't see curvature on a plane from 35,000 feet. Red Bull jump guy couldn't even see it. But I'm sure there were a bunch of science dorks who were like, yeah, look, you see the curve in space, Red Bull jump. And then, no, apparently you can't see from that high, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson. I can get on a plane, I can fly around the so-called globe, but the sense of where down is, which will change its direction depending on what side of the globe you're on, I never feel that. All I ever feel is down. I never see curve. I never feel like I'm going around a curve. All I feel is down, 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 down. That's it.
Okay, well, still, down's relative, and I do like how you still haven't explained like the exact mechanism or anything like property. How would you like if I punched a wall? How would you like measure the force of that? Because I mean, we have to know these things in order for a lot of things to work in this system. Me being an engineer, I had to learn all of that shit while I was going through college. So I'm kind of curious, how exactly do you calculate that force in your world? Because to me, you wouldn't be able to calculate it.
Are you talking about punching a wall? Or are you talking about like what you're calling dropity?
I mean, it's the same thing. The downward force, gravity, that's a force, just like my hand hitting the wall,
Yeah, no,
my
obviously,
palm smacking in
obviously.
my face.
Yeah, obviously. Well, you know what? If everywhere on Earth it's what is it, 9.8 meters squared? Is that the rate of fall according to gravity?
Yes.
Right. And if that is experientially, scientifically proven to be true at any point on the globe, it wouldn't surprise me if it varies in some places. Does it vary?
Yes, it does vary.
Yeah, I figured it would. Um, then the way I see it, here's my thing. My thing is why. See, I don't deny that things drop. Duh, obviously. I don't deny that there's a 9.8 meters per second. It's a squared drop. I don't deny that. I mean, you'd have to be insane to deny that things fall and they fall at a certain rate and it's predictable and it's testable and it's repeatable. Where I have a difference with you and the Globers in general is that you guys aren't just saying it's falling, you're saying it's being pulled to the center of mass. So the way I see it, the numbers and the math that you guys use to describe the rate at which things fall could generally probably simply be applied to this universal downward thing that we can feel and we can experience no matter where we are on the earth. And by the way, I mean, you'll never see curvature as you travel across the earth. I mean, you can't see from 35,000 feet. So you can go anywhere on earth and you can test that things fall to your feet. But I don't see where curvature gets added into the equation there.
So what exactly is the connection between curvature and dropity?
Well, for you guys, things are being pulled to a center of mass.
Right.
And I say, well, if it turns out we don't live on a globe, then the phenomenon of things dropping could just be a universal downward force. Why not? If there's a gravity force that's pulling things to the center of mass, why can't there be a downward force? I mean, here's a question. In video games, when they program video games, Elon Musk, he's a big fan of simulation theory. He says we might be living in a simulation theory. The average video game is made on a flat map. That the world, play like Skyrim or something, it's a flat map. And I mean, I don't know shit about programming, but are they using gravity, things pulling to the center of mass, as the formula to create the in-game physics of things falling down on a flat map? Or are they just using some kind of universal map-wide downward force? Not to center of mass, just down. So I just say, why do we have to introduce a ball, a globe, pulling to the center of mass? Why can't we just have a flat plane with a universal downward force, and that's it? And yeah, it's just what I
Okay.
think.
first of all, physics engines do use gravity in their calculations. I mean, in order to get a good model, in order to, I guess, please people that are playing games, you would have to consider gravity and all of that.
So you're telling me that on a flat map video
Now,
game, they're using gravity on a flat map. They're using gravity.
I'm saying that in video games, in physics engines, they definitely do use gravity, and they take gravity into consideration when playing these games.
You think it's gravity, or
programming these games?
You think it's gravity, or maybe it's like an alternate downward force?
For like 5 minutes. Can I please talk?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so in your whole diatribe here, you seem to think that this dropity or this downward force only acts on specific objects, mainly just objects, I guess, that are on the surface of the Earth and not like the ground or anything below it. So, I mean, do you think that like dropity only happens above the surface? Or do you think it doesn't affect like the ground?
Yeah, probably, yeah. Why not? Yeah, of course.
Okay, so extrapolating from that, if you have like why do you, if you have such a wide, like a huge flat Earth, if everything is pulling down, why is it that like it hasn't crumbled off? Like, why don't the edges crumble off? Why don't things crumble into? Well, I would say a sphere, but you deny that it's being pulled to the center of mass. So exactly what is this theory of dropity doing? What is the exact theory? Just shit falls down? Is that all that is? Or do you have some kind of actual formalized theory that explains why it falls down? Why don't things fall to the left or the right? Why don't they fall up? Like, what is making things fall down? On the theory of gravity, we have an explanation because mass attracts mass. We have this formula that can calculate the force of attraction between two objects. And because the Earth is so massive, the force of gravity on any one person pulls it to the center of the Earth and keeps them on the Earth. That's what allows us to stay here and not fall off the Earth. And it also allows us to keep an atmosphere. So, I mean, you have to understand that you're being this globe skeptic over there, but at the same time, you're not actually giving me good explanations as to why these things happen.
They don't like.
Whereas my model, the existing consensus, can fully explain.
No one's intimidated by your appeal to consensus.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What?
No one's intimidated by your appeal to consensus.
Okay, I didn't only appeal to consensus. I explained why.
No, I know, but you did at the end. I just wanted to hit that little point. Okay, so let me go through all the stuff you said, because you went on a big diatribe there. Okay, God, where do I even start? I mean, so I mean, what do you want from me? You want a mathematical formula to explain the universal downward force, which is the only thing we ever can experience and observe?
Well, I mean, a mathematical formula would be great. I doubt that you have one, but just an explanation as to why things are compelled to fall down rather than to the left, to the right, or up.
Well, I already told you that maybe it's just because that's the way the universe is. And you might be like, well, how does that work? Well, okay, if I ask you, how does gravity work? And you're going to tell me, oh, everything pulls the center of mass. And then I can ask you again, okay, well, how does that work? So I will ask you, how does that work?
Well, I mean, that's where special relativity comes in, because mass displaces space-time, and it causes that space-time to warp and be pulled towards the larger, like, warps in space-time. Like that's one way to think of it.
Okay. If you're and why does that happen?
Because matter displaces space-time. Space and time are linked.
Right, and why is it that warping space-time pulls things down? Why? What is it in the properties of space and time that has that feature built into it?
Okay, so for one thing, it doesn't just pull things down, it pulls things towards the center of gravity, like the center of mass.
Yeah, we know.
So, have you ever seen like those little quarter little attractions, like you go to a mall or some kind of amusement park or something like that. You put the quarter at the very top of it, you drop it, and it goes around the sides
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. I've seen
drops
that.
into the
Yeah, yeah,
bucket.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, it kind of works on a similar principle to that. Like, I mean, as you get closer to this center of mass, you know, you're compelled, like you're pulled towards it because, you know, it. That, I mean, that's just how it works. I don't know how else to explain it to you. I mean, it's not like it's just like I'm sorry. I don't know how else to
Well,
explain. I
here
don't
was
know
the
how to
point.
explain it to like a
Here's the
5-year-old.
point I was trying to make. I didn't even really need an answer from you because the reason I kept asking you that question was because eventually, you know, I can ask you indefinitely. Well, what causes gravity to do what it does? And then what causes space time to do what it does? And then if you give me an answer to that, I could be like, well, what causes that to do what it does? My point is that you're asking me for an explanation of how everything has a downward force, and I just say, that's it. It just has it. You don't have to go any deeper. Just like again,
No, but you
I'm going
do.
to go to the video game example with the video game. You tell me they have gravity in video games, but in my understanding, gravity pulls to the center of mass. So I don't understand how you could have a flat map in a video game that's abiding by a curved globular center of mass gravity formula to explain how there's a universal downward force on the video game map. I bet they're probably using something that puts a 9.8 meter squared drop all across the map, all across the flat map. That's
Yes,
probably what they do.
gravity.
Right, but gravity makes things spherical, not a flat map in a video game. So obviously, if they were using gravity, and this actually goes back to down changing directions depending on what side of the globe you're on. If they're using gravity on a flat map, then something that drops straight to your feet on one side of the map will drop at an angle to the center wherever you have this center of mass on a flat map. So it doesn't make any sense.
You know, I feel like this is going nowhere because I mean, you're basically comparing almost apples to oranges here because I'm sitting here telling you, explaining to you how gravity and its explanation differs from your theory of dropity, and you're basically describing gravity to me right now when you're talking about these simulations and shit, which but physics engines definitely use gravity in order to do their
Hey,
calculations.
you want to know what probably did use gravity? Super Mario Galaxy. Have you ever heard of Super Mario Galaxy?
Yes, I've heard of
It's a,
Super Mario.
I mean, Mario, and some people say my mustache looks like Mario's, whatever. On Super Mario Galaxy, um, Mario, they literally the maps are on spheres, and Mario's, he's on the little sphere and he's running, and he can circumnavigate the sphere. He goes upside down and around. He can circumnavigate the sphere. They're small little globes. You can Mario could walk around it in like 20 seconds. There's like small globes. They probably use gravity for that. But my question is, if you're using pulling to the center of mass in Super Mario Galaxy to get Mario to stick to the underside of this globe as he's moving around it, well, what are they using on a flat map like so many video games are using a flat map? I'm just saying gravity pulls to the center of mass and makes things a globular shape for that reason. On a flat map in a video game, I think it's a good question. What are they using? Is it just a universal downward 9.8 meters squared force?
Which is gravity. Gravity is a universal thing that happens
Are you
everywhere.
telling me there's no difference between gravity and things pulling down everywhere on a flat Earth?
No, I'm saying a flat Earth doesn't exist because gravity pulls everything to the center of mass, and therefore a flat Earth isn't possible.
Right, but we're not talking. You're asking me about what my views are on this, what you call dropity, which I just call universal downward force. After all, it's all we ever experience. we
Why,
don't ever
why,
ex-
I don't understand why
we
you
don't
bring up
ever
video
feel
games
that
as a
down changing
representative of
directions as you
reality.
go on the other side of the globe. We never feel that. We never feel that. Um,
Why are you trying to use video games and sizes in video games that do not actually represent like like the situation in reality?
First of all, you told me
Earth
video. First of all,
is going. What? Hold on, I'm talking.
You
Please,
told me video
I'm
games use
talking.
gravity. You
I'm
told me
talking.
that, and I'm telling you that there's a difference between pulling to the center of mass and things pulling down on a flat map. You're telling me that video games use pull to the center of mass gravity, and I'm telling you that it doesn't really make sense on a flat simulation video game. It's not that I'm deflecting to some bizarre, obscure video game analogy. It's that you said video games use a pull to the center of mass gravity formula, and I'm telling you that how the hell are things pulling to a center of mass on a flat video game map? It doesn't make sense.
Well, again, I don't know why we're talking about video games.
Okay, let's just move on because you're obviously having trouble. Let's move on. What else you got? What else you got, man?
Or constructed.
Let's move on. What else you got, man?
Gravity.
Everybody in the audience gets it. Let's move on. What else?
I like how you said, "Hey, I'm not going to watch the chat," but now you know everybody in the audience is getting it.
I'm not watching the chat, buddy. I'm assuming they get it.
Okay. Just like you assume those experiments worked out exactly like you thought they did. So if we can move on from this whole video game talk that doesn't actually help us out with this, this whole dropity thing, because I mean you're basically explaining gravity with saying that gravity doesn't exist, which seems to be a pro-ish thing. I'm on the verge of saying, hey, and you don't sincerely believe any of this shit.
That's fine, bro. That's not what I said, but move on. Let's go.
Okay, what is another point of contention that you have with the globe Earth model, so that we can move on?
Okay, let's see here. Where do we begin with it? The hilarious coincidence that the sun and the moon appear to be the same size, but it turns out that they're actually the sun. The sun is actually 400 times bigger than the moon, but because it's also 400 times further away from us, they only appear to look the same size because of that stunning cosmic coincidence that, according to you guys, blew up for no reason out of a big bang. But what a coincidence that they appear to be the same size. That's just funny. I mean, that you have to have a lot of faith to believe in that coincidence.
I mean, it's all about perspective, but I'm guessing you're going to shit on that too.
You mean that there's so many billions of galaxies, so it's not really a coincidence kind of thing?
No, meaning that the moon is a certain distance away from the Earth, and the sun is 93 million miles away, which the moon is, 240,000 miles away or whatnot. And then
the moon is 238,000 miles away.
And so from our perspective here on the face of the Earth, the moon on occasion seems to be just the size as it. In the past, the the same size as...
Sorry, how long ago? In the past? How long ago are you talking about?
I mean, at any point in the past when the moon was close enough to be bigger than the sun.
Are you talking about like a billion years or something? Do you mean like a billion years ago or something like that?
A billion years ago?
Yeah, because they say that the moon is moving, but it's like 1 nanometer every 100,000 years or some crazy stuff like that. So I'm just saying, you're saying that the moon used to be what, closer, further away?
The moon used to be closer.
Right, and so, but when did it used to be closer? Like
at any point in the past.
So because it's just a gradual thing.
Yes.
And would you happen to know the rate? Like, would you happen to know the rate?
Is the ground logical thing.
Would you happen to know the rate of its change in distance?
Uh, it's like a few centimeters a year.
Okay. Right, that's what they tell us. And a few centimeters a year at 238,000 miles away. I mean, it would take a lot of years for the moon to no longer be in this coincidental place that it's currently in, where it happens to look basically exactly the same size as the sun. It would probably have to go back at least hundreds of years. I'd say probably thousands of years before the apparent perspective induced coincidence that the sun and moon are the same size. We'd probably have to go back pretty far so that the moon is nothing like its apparent same size as the sun. So my point is, you're kind of appealing to this that the mainstream science loves to do. They appeal to this far, far away, long, long ago, completely unverifiable past.
We can use pottery in the past that we've dug up in archaeological finds, and we can actually show how how like the magnetic field has changed, and we can also detect how far away the moon is moving away now, and and we can extrapolate that back in time. It's not always constant.
Look, you want to suggest that, you can look into the past with a crystal ball of all these methods and stuff, and that at some point in the past, the moon wasn't at this exact location where the sun and moon appear to be the exact same size. What a coincidence. You can do that. I mean, I'm not going to argue with, whatever magnetic pottery method you're talking about. I mean, I know that is a stunning coincidence, and do you think that's a coincidence that they appear to be the same size, even though they're separated by 93 million miles, and even though one is 400 times bigger than the other? I mean, do you at least think?
Do you know how perspective works? I mean, seriously, I'm asking legitimately.
I'm talking about the coincidence of things blowing up out of nothing for no reason and then forming in this way for us to see it on Earth. That's what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about what are the odds.
What are the odds? I mean, the odds are pretty good considering that is the situation, and that's how perspective works.
No. Everything blew up out of nothing for no reason, and it just so happened the sun and the moon appear to be the same size from our perspective on the globe when we look up. So it's incredible. It's like, oh yeah, who actually believes that was by coincidence? That was just an explosion out of nothing. I mean, you have to be crazy to believe that. You have to be in a religion called atheism.
What blew up?
You've never heard of the Big Bang, dude?
No. I've heard of the Big Bang, but the Big Bang, it didn't just blow up, create the Earth, and then create the sun and all that other
stuff. Who said that, dude? Who said that? No one said that, bro.
You said that it blew up.
The whole universe blew up out of the Big Bang, did it not?
No, the Big Bang is the great expansion of everything at the beginning of the universe, but it wasn't like a giant explosion. You think that it's a giant explosion, and that's just simply not what happened.
Okay, fine.
It was actually
the
hundreds
Big Bang.
of thousands of years of darkness between the great expansion of the universe and when light first started to.
The point is, it all happened by chance with no intelligent design.
What?
You're saying the point is it all happened by chance with no intelligent design, all a big cosmic accident, and it just so happens that the sun and the moon appear to be the same size from where we're standing on Earth. Just another coincidence.
Well, I mean, currently, right now, yes. We live in a very great time.
I know. That's what you guys do. You guys appeal to the unverifiable past and say, well, 100 million years ago, we found pottery. And we found pottery from fucking, 5 million years ago or whatever. And the magnetic particles in the pottery proved the moon was actually a lot closer. So this giant coincidence that the moon and the sun appear to be the same size from our perspective, it's just a big ass coincidence. My point, bro, is that when the mainstream heliocentric model says it all, came out of the Big Bang with no preset path, no intelligent design, it just for no reason, by accident, by chance, And then here we are, and you say it. You say we live in a special time, right? Well, I don't think it's just this special time. I think this is what it is, and I have to believe that the sun and moon, despite appearing the same size, by sheer coincidence, coming out of the great expansion, as you call it, they just happen to be positioned at the right distances, given how one's 400 times bigger. I have to swallow that as just some epic coincidence that freaking came up out of nothing from the great expansion.
No,
I just think it's crazy.
no, you can actually you can measure yourself exactly how far away the moon is, and you can use angular resolution and parallax in order to determine how far away the sun is.
Yeah, I don't buy any of that stuff, bro.
No, I
A
mean
lot of
you
assumptions
can
go into
literally
that.
bounce lasers off of the moon, have them come back, and you can measure the time that it takes for them to bounce back, and you can measure the distance to the moon. That's how we know how far away the moon is and how the moon is like the orbit is growing.
Well, there's another interesting coincidence that I'm supposed to swallow if I accept if I accept the heliocentric model, and that is that I think it was the 1600s. Christopher Huygens, apparently he determined the distance to the sun. Christopher Huygens, about it's like 400 years ago, 1600s, I believe. And the mainstream history will admit that the way he calculated the distance to the sun was by guessing the diameter, or I think it was a radius, guessing the radius of Venus. He didn't logically deduce it. He didn't come to the conclusion with any evidence. He literally guessed it, and you can look this up. Well, don't look it up because obviously we said we weren't going to be looking things up here, but maybe look it up afterwards. The people watching can look it up. They will tell you Christopher Huygens calculated the distance to the sun by guessing, because he used trigonometry, and in trigonometry you need to know two of the three variables to get the third variable. So he already had the radius of Earth. Eratosthenes allegedly got that, and now he just needed to know the radius of Venus. And what he did was he pulled it out of his ass, literally guessed that Venus is the same radius as Earth, and then with that guess he had a second variable, and he used that to calculate the distance to the sun. They admit it was a guess, and now just by another epic, incredible coincidence chance, his guess turned out to be right, and now NASA tells us, based on all their equipment and all the things they claim they use, that they verified how big Venus is. And who would have thought Christopher Huygens' guess was dead on the money? Venus is just about the exact same size as Earth, and that's how we know how far away the sun is. So I'm supposed to believe in the sun and the moon appear to be the same size. What an incredible coincidence. I'm supposed to believe that Christopher Huygens guessed Venus's radius, pulled it out of his ass, and he turned out he was right. Hundreds of years later, we proved it. We went up there, we used lasers or whatever. So just a lot of weird guesses and coincidences. A lot of them.
I don't know why you're playing this appeal to authority type game with the scientists that guess. Like, I don't know that particular story. I don't know anything about that, but it also doesn't address any of my points about how you can do from the surface of the Earth. You can do these parallax measurements without guessing any kind of shit, and you can get the distance of the sun from the Earth. You can also get the distance of the moon from the Earth using the same kind of parallax experiments, but you can also bounce laser beams off of this. You don't have to trust any scientists. All you have to do is have a basic fucking understanding of math and astronomy, and you can do these things yourself if you want to. But all I hear you doing is saying, I'm too lazy. I'm just going to think that a creator intelligently designed shit.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, no, here's the problem. So are you talking about the moon bounce? Is that what you're talking about? Where they shoot like a radio ham like a ham radio, and they shoot it up to the moon, and it bounces off the moon, and that's how we know how far away the moon is. Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know what you're talking about a ham radio, but they use lasers and you can measure it using lasers.
Well, I don't know about the lasers, and I don't know much about the ham radio operators. Other than that, I've heard people say that the inverse square law would completely. I mean, the odds that a little ham radio operator would be able to send radio waves up and actually reach the moon and bounce back, when you take into account the inverse square law, I've heard people say that there's just no way the ham radio operators are actually bouncing off the moon. Um, but given that the moon is 238,000 miles away, as they tell us.
I mean, ham operators can bounce microwaves and shit off of the troposphere and get and be able to receive and transmit things extra long distances over the curve of the Earth because of that. It's called tropospheric scattering. So I mean that's a real thing that can happen, and it does happen, and it definitely proves that there's a curvature to the Earth.
Oh no, I don't deny that I don't deny the ham radio operators are bouncing. I don't deny that. I'm just saying, can it reach the moon 238,000 miles away? And I've just heard a couple people say, "Nah, there's no way. There's just no way." But
Okay, well, I mean, I can't speak to ham operators bouncing radio waves off of the moon, but if that were the case, I would say that it would most likely work because microwaves are electromagnetic waves that just operate on a different part of the spectrum and than like lasers or just regular visible light. So I mean, it would make sense if it would be able to bounce off if you had powerful enough equipment. But I mean, I don't see how that actually refutes the fact that you can physically measure the distance from the face of the Earth to the moon.
yeah.
Also, explain tides without the moon being 240 miles away, 240,000 miles away.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Explain the tides without the gravity of the moon.
How about find a better explanation than just the moon for the tides? I mean, it's that, like, that's not even an explanation for the tides.
So due to the basic laws of motion, you have to have some kind of force that is causing the tides to happen. Otherwise, it's just still water. So what force is causing the tides to happen?
The ocean is so complex. That's something I've learned from going out there with the P1000 over and over and over again, doing observations. And it's fascinating that in the span of an hour, the ocean can go from nice and still, and suddenly it's full of ripples. It can go from like a glass lake mirror, just totally flat and still, and within an hour later, suddenly it's all full of ripples and stuff. You guys say it's just the moon. The moon causes it. I don't know too much about the tides. I'm not going to bullshit you, so I don't really have too much to say.
Okay, so you're very fervent about gravity not being the force that causes the tides, but yet you know enough to say that it's not gravity that causes it.
Yeah. I'm just very skeptical of it.
Okay. Well, I mean, I like how you tried to redirect our conversation there because you didn't actually know.
I didn't redirect. I told you.
No, it's okay.
I told you I don't know much about the topic. I gave you that, and now you're trying to beat me over the head with it, which is fine.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, why don't? Is that going to be your next research thing that you do? Looking into the tides?
I'm sorry, you cut off. What?
Are you going to do that as like your next little research topic? Like, why do tides work?
Sure. Yeah, it's just like you need to go research diffraction limits. Absolutely.
No, I don't need to research diffraction limits because I know how all that shit works. And so,
God damn. Come on, bro. You didn't know anything about that shit, really. Come on.
Huh?
You didn't know much about diffraction limits. Come on.
No, I mean, I know about how light operates.
You didn't even know how to pronounce aperture, dude. Come on. It's okay. I don't know things. I don't know, dude. Like,
twice.
I don't know much about the tides and the moon, dude. Like I'm
I
not gonna
didn't. I
bullshit you.
mispronounced it twice, but yet I'm getting blasted as not knowing how to pronounce it. I
You're
mispronounced it
getting a
like
humble
twice.
concession. You're getting a humble concession from me that I don't know much about the moon tide topic. There. Don't know what else to tell you. I mean, you want to beat me over the head with that? All right, let's do it. Next 30 minutes. Just laugh at me and poke fun at me because I don't know much about the moon and the tide subject. I mean, fine. You can do that
No,
if you want.
how was I poking fun at you?
No, I'm just saying, like, I told you I don't know much about it, and then you just kept going in on it. Like, I don't know what else to tell you, dude. Like, we can go on to another
Well,
topic, or
so
you
so
can
the
just keep
reason
going on
why
about it. I don't really care.
so so the reason why is because you seem to have enough information to say that the Earth is
Well, I'm
not real
skeptical. That's all
and
I'm
that
saying. I'm
gravity
not
does
saying
not
that's not
exist.
it. I'm just
But
saying I'm
yet at the same
skeptical.
time,
That's all. I'm
you don't
skeptical.
know enough to be able to explain it with
Yeah, I
as
don't.
much clarity as the consensus has.
Here's the
Um,
problem. Here's the problem. You couldn't pronounce aperture properly, but you say you know everything there is to know about diffraction limits.
uh, I, I do know how to pronounce it properly. I pronounced it properly twice before, so I don't know why you keep
No.
going
You
back to that.
mispronounced it properly twice before. Yeah.
I don't know why you keep going back to that. I'm not keeping going back. I was
Listen,
explaining why.
because you don't want to get all
This is
because you
this
don't
is
want
getting
it
pretty
because you're
childish.
accusing
At
me
this
of
point, I'm
arrogantly.
willing to bring you as a foe. So
You're accusing
you
me
are
of
in this because
arrogantly. You're
I'm not being
accusing me
convinced
of
by any of this.
arrogantly claiming to know things he doesn't know when you're claiming you literally said I know all about diffraction limits when I don't think you do and you couldn't pronounce aperture properly twice.
I don't
That's the
know. I
reason
didn't say
I'm
I
going
know
back to it.
everything. I said I
That's the
know how
only reason
light
I'm going back to
operates.
it. Otherwise, I would have not brought it up again. But now you want to
No, I
beat me
said
over
that
the
I know
head.
how light operates. I said that I know how light operates. I did not say I know everything there is to
We're
know
talking about
about
diffraction
diffraction or
limits,
anything
dude.
like that.
Diffraction
But I do
limits.
have a good basic grasp.
We're
You
talking
don't
about
even have a
diffraction limits.
basic grasp of drop.
Diffraction
So
limits.
how about this? How about we go ahead and
Diffraction limits.
we
Not
don't have
about
any
light, dude.
actual
We're talking
evidence
about
whatsoever.
diffraction
And
limits,
why don't we just do
bro.
like little
It's
outros?
easy, dude. Diffraction limits, bro. We're not talking about light. We're talking about diffraction limits, bro.
Okay, let's just go ahead and do like outros and shit because this is going nowhere and it's just getting childish
Are
and
you
shit.
rage quitting, dude? Are you rage quitting?
I'm not rage quitting. Am I rage quitting? That would be just ending
Yeah,
the.
you're like, let's do outros. That's enough. Let's do outros.
No, because there's nothing here that could actually convince anybody with at least two brain cells. Okay,
I know.
so we
That's
just need to
fine.
end
Let's
this
have our
because
outro and let's go
you're starting to
ahead.
get a
Go
little
ahead.
petty.
Do your outro and have your little ad hom thing to impress your viewers, and then I'll do my outro.
I haven't done any kind of ad homing at
Oh,
all.
two brain cells is not ad hom. Come on, buddy.
I did not say that you had two
I
brain
don't
cells.
care
I
who.
just
You're
said
talking
that it's
about the
easy for
people.
people to understand.
Yeah, exactly. You're suggesting that stupidity is required. So you have to be stupid to
I
not
did not
understand it
say
at this
you
point.
have to be stupid.
All right. The point is, all right, go ahead. Do your outro. Do your outro since you're rage quitting.
All right. Well, for all of you on his channel, I appreciate you joining in. For all of you on my channel, I will be going over your super chats and anything like that. And I guess we will see all of you guys later, and especially you heathens over on my channel. I will see you here in a minute.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you for everybody for watching. Don't forget to make those mustache gains, everybody. And John, thank you for your time. Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate it too.
Okay, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right. Laters. Oh my. What a damn circus that was. Fun and lively, though, I must say. Very fun and very lively. I want to say thank you again to John, aka Godless Engineer, for coming on. Fun, lively debate and discussion. Really appreciate it. Fun times, good times. And we're all here to learn. Well, at least I am. I'm here to learn. And every day I learn something new when I look into this topic. on the shape of the earth. And I know more about why we believe what we believe, thanks to this crazy flat earth topic. I know more about astronomy and astrology, and, well, not astrology, that's, but astronomy. I know more about it than I've ever known before, thanks to this flat earth topic. And yes, believe it or not, guys, I am here to learn. I am here to learn stuff. So, I want to go ahead and quickly read the super chats. Let's pull these super chats out. Let's see here. Our first super chat, $5 from the Raw Caviar. Can I pop this out? That'd be really cool. Okay, we can't pop that out. That's fine. How, if you cannot see curve from 128,000 feet, can you see from 6 foot eye level, see a boat go over curve within only a few miles? It's a fine question. It's a fine question. We have a $50 super chat from One Man's Way. Just watch highest flat earth weather balloon. If you don't use a fisheye lens, it's flat. Love you, bro. Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. We have ourselves here a $2 super chat from the mind of God himself. High IQ backed by the creator versus anti-creator. That's right. We have Theo McGuirty, $5 super chat for the P900 to be obstructed by imperfections in the floor. The imperfection would have to be as high as the center of the lens. Amateur hours, bro. Yeah. He didn't want to admit that he didn't know jack shit about the fucking diffraction limits. And that's it. All right? I spent like freaking 20 hours researching this topic, man. I spent like 20 hours researching this topic, and it's incredibly in-depth and incredibly complex. And that's all it comes down to. So, that's all it comes down to. Let's see, we have a super chat here from the Dashing Rogue, $4.99 super chat. This basically boils down to empiricism versus rationalism. The burden of proof is on the man making the claim, so explain your model heuristics, please. We have $5 from Jimbo. We have an additional $20 super chat from One Man's Way. Gravity is simply density and buoyancy. That's what some people say. Flat Earth News, $5. Globe Believers, please explain to me, are they aware explanations are not science? Sean Hawkins, of all people, $10 super chat. I am a veteran U.S. Army photographer with 35 years experience, and you don't know anything about cameras, optics, photography, or basically everything. So that's Sean Hawkins. He's very obsessed with my channel, diehard Globe troll. And I don't know what the hell he was thinking, giving me $10 super chat. Maybe you can get refunds. Somehow he'll get a refund last minute. I don't friggin' know. One Man's Way. An additional $40 super chat. Ask him how gravity pulls all the oceans down. Ungodly amounts of weight, but a butterfly can hover over the same ocean. $9.99 super chat. Thanks for doing this debate, man. Thank you, Jesus Save. Gabriel R, $4.99 super chat. You are way more intelligent than that dude. Ran circles around him. It's no surprise he calls himself godless. Well, God created logic as well. Wow, what a super chat to end it on. Wow, crazy stuff. So again, I want to say thank you to everybody who smashed the super chat. I really appreciate it. And I want to say thanks again to John, aka Godless Engineer. Thanks for the time. It's fun discussion. And I think that's great, man. I think that, we might disagree to all hell, but, we can have fun, right? We can have fun. Yeah, it looks like Godless just quit. I don't know what happened to him, dude. He just didn't want to do it anymore. But you know what it is? It's like, it's not a safe space here, And maybe that's why. I don't know what happened with him, but it was an abrupt ending. But there's no safe space here, and that's the reason that a lot of these Globers they like to go to their moderated safe spaces where you have two moderators who support the Globe, and they don't do shit. They don't do jack shit. Here it's man to man, mind to mind, and no babysitters, no referees to save you. So again, Big thanks to Godless Engineer. And that was a good time. It was a good discussion. Someone called It's Not Flat, we checked, says, it's because you're an idiot and not worth continuing the discussion with. Whatever helps you sleep at night, atheist. We're taking your ball away. And you know what? What happens when you take a ball away from someone? Take a ball away from a kid, they throw a temper tantrum. No. I call it, you know what I call it? I call him Godless Intelligent Designer. Because he's Godless Engineer. And engineers intelligently design shit. So I like to call him Godless Intelligent Designer. Airline pilot research Global Airlines asks, so who won? Well, I guess that's for the audience to decide. Kevin Cornea says, I honestly appreciate you didn't ban me. Like the mustache, really, from a bear bro. LOL. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. I mean, look, some people like this thing like making fun of my mustache now. It's like, come on, give me a break, dude. Give me a break. That's the thing. What do you do with a mustache? I mean, you can make it go down here. Weird handlebar shit. I don't like. This is the only thing you can do with a mustache. So yeah, no safe spaces here, guys. No safe spaces here. What's up, chocolate? What's up, chocolate? What's up, chocolate? Yeah, no safe spaces up in this bitch, you know, and that's why they love their moderated environments, because you got two people who are pro globe on your side moderating. Give me a break, dude. Give me a break. And you know, that was a big topic that I don't think he wanted to accept it, which was universal downward force. Universal downward force. And I think I got him. Look, I got him really bad when he refused to admit that down is in a different direction depending on which side of the globe you're on. Dude, that's like, oh, dude, stop it. Just stop, dude. Stop it. The direction of down changes direction on the globe. I mean, this is so elementary, I'm not even going to go over it again. And I really got him on the simulation. On the video game analogy. Because, you know, he said that video games use gravity. And all I'm saying is, well, gravity is to the center of mass. And center of mass force makes things into sphere shapes. Not the flat video game maps like you see in most video games. Unless you're playing Super Mario Galaxy, and then you got little globes. But like Skyrim, your average video game, it's just a flat map. And so if they're using the spherical pulling to the center of mass down force in video games, then first of all, when you drop your sword in Skyrim, if things are pulling to the center of mass, how do you even define center of mass on a flat map? They just have, I bet they just program in a universal downward force in the video game on a flat map. Simple. And hey guys, after all, that's all we ever experience is down, straight down. We don't experience down changing its direction. Okay, we don't experience ourselves going over a curve. We never see curvature. Neil deGrasse Tyson says you can't see curvature from 128,000 feet, 4 times the height of the average commercial airliner. So, what else needs to be said, honestly? What else needs to be said? Chris E. says, why would you be so stupid as to bring video games to a debate? Well, I was just making an analogy briefly um, to Elon Musk, certified smart man, Elon Musk, and how he says we probably live in a simulation. So I'm like, okay, well, if Elon Musk, certified smart man, says we live in a simulation, he basically said like the extremely high probability we live in a simulation. So if we live in a simulation, we'll take a look at your average video game simulation, and you'll see that most video games are made on a flat map. And my question is, how do you have a center of mass pool, which is why planets allegedly form into sphere shapes, on a flat map? And I simply argue that if you want to know, if you want to ask how do you explain gravity on a flat Earth, well, it's quite simple, really. Now, a lot of people just say, a lot of flat earthers say buoyancy and density, and that might play a factor, might play a role, but I say, why can't there also be a standard down? 9.8 meters per second squared, down. That's it, down. Not changing direction depending on what side the globe you're on, just across the flat, everywhere on the flat, just down. Just down. Everywhere, just down. That's all. It's not complicated. Somebody says, we got Lord Semboro saying, Neil deGrasse Tyson might say that we can't see it from 129,000 feet, but according to Google Earth, we can see it from 20,000 feet. Theo McGuirty with the $2 super chat. I know how light works. What's a diffraction? Come on, man. By the way, guys, mustache life, mustache, hashtag representing mustache life. It's the only, if you're going to grow facial hair above your lip, the only way to do it is like this. That's all there is to it. Mustache life, guys. Conspiracy Paranoia says, get a real job. Get a real job is what people who hate their jobs say to people who love their jobs. Chris E. says, I missed his point. No, I didn't, buddy. We have 3D software that predicts eclipses down to a second. Your model is not proof of shit. You can make a banana Earth model work perfectly. I mean, I think it was the Ptolemaic model. Was it Ptolemy's model? That was insanely accurate. Insanely accurate. Could predict all types of celestial body occurrences. And Ptolemy's model was geocentric. It was Earth at the center of everything. Because if you change your assumptions and you tweak the variables in your model, you can make anything work. One man's way with a $20 super chat. Don't get a real job, just over broke. Thank you, appreciate it. One man's way. I mean, just dudes like gone crazy with super chats tonight, so appreciate it. Jimbo, thanks for the $10. Really appreciate it. Make sure I didn't miss any over here. No, I didn't. But McCavendish. What am I drinking? I'm drinking Perrier lime. You know, we don't drink alcohol over here. Alcohol is for nihilists who are depressed with their lives. That's why I've noticed it seems like a lot of atheists drink alcohol. It's kind of a thing I noticed, and it makes sense when you think that the universe just blew up out of nothing for no reason, and you're just a speck of pointless dust doomed to die, came out of a monkey's ass. You're gonna be an alcoholic. Like you're gonna be an alcoholic. Unworthy servant of Jesus Christ says alcohol is also called spirits for a reason. It allows demons to deceive. So much is possible, isn't it? So much we don't know in this world. Mikey War says this awful bunch of flat earthers in one spot and a guy that is showing off his chest hair. Don't get butthurt, dude. Don't get too butthurt, man. That was a fun and lively debate. I mean, would you guys agree? That was a fun and lively debate. I would say so. Miguel Perales, $9.99 super chat. Keep up the good work. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Really great stuff. I want to say thanks again to Godless Engineer for the time. Really fun. Really appreciated it. It was a great discussion. I have fun. Thank you, Part-Time Vegan. Really appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you, Mind to God. Really appreciate it. Just doing my thing. And that's some people they'll call me. I think Godless Engineers in his past videos has called me a flat earther. I've never called myself a flat earther. I've always called myself a globe skeptic, and that's what I am. And I know they get triggered. They get triggered when you use the word skeptic to be skeptical of what they believe. But that's what I am. I'm a globe skeptic. I'm not a flat earther yet. I'm just not. I'm a globe skeptic. Every day I see more evidence that makes me question the globe even more. And that's just the way it is. But whatever. That's all there is to it. What else can I say? What else can I fucking say, man? Yeah, I'm not a flat earther, man. I'm not a flat earther. I'm just being a skeptic. Just being a skeptic. And it looks like the stream of the health, I always say stream of the health. The health of the stream has chopped up for a moment here. Hopefully it's not YouTube censorship. Hopefully I don't lose 300 viewers. I was rounding out anyways, but YouTube not receiving enough video to maintain smooth stream. Don't know why that would be. Okay, I think we're back to green again. Chris E with a $5 super chat asks, let's see if you can explain how the sun can illuminate the underside of clouds on a flat earth. It's geometrically impossible on a flat plane. Yeah, that's just a silly burden of proof reversal. How do you explain me being able to see things that should have been disappeared or hidden behind the Earth's curvature? Oh, refraction. Okay, fine. Refraction is a real phenomenon, but there's a kind of a big difference between downward and upward refraction, and there is a big debate going on right now on what actually occurs regularly when doing observations over water. And I think it turns out that you're more likely to see upward refraction, not downward refraction. That's bad news for the globe, by the way. So again, Chris E, $5 super chat. Let's see if you can explain how the sun can illuminate the underside of clouds on a flat Earth. Can your heliocentric model explain how much of a ridiculous coincidence it is that the sun and the moon, despite the sun being 400 times further away from Earth than the moon is, appear to be the exact same size? Oh, well, you guys say it's because just by chance the sun is also 400 times bigger than the moon. so they just so happen, but it all came out of a big expansion out of nothing for no reason, a big explosive coincidence chance. But oh, what a coincidence, the sun and moon appear to be the same size. Yeah, your model's full of holes too, by the way. Your model's full of holes because your model is based on coincidence and chance. And I'm supposed to believe that the sun and moon being the apparent same size is just coincidence and chance. And that's too much of a coincidence for me to just swallow. In fact, I call that a hole in your model. $5 super chat from Jamare Moore. $5 super chat from Jamare Moore. How does gravity explain the Mississippi emptying into the Gulf of Mexico? Wouldn't gravity cause it to flood in the northern Midwest? Never heard that question before. Well, I'll just call you Moore. It's a lot easier of a name. Never heard of that before. Symbia with a $1 super chat. Thank you so much. Kekistani refugee says, if you have any balls, explain to me how a satellite constellation would work if the Earth was flat. How would planes be able to navigate? Let's hear it, genius. Explain how a satellite constellation would work if the Earth was flat. Well, no, satellites, I mean, there's just so many funny holes with satellites, including the hole in the South Pole, because so few satellites fly over the South Pole. It sure so happens that there is no South Pole on the mainstream flat Earth model. Not looking good. Constellations, yeah, constellations. I mean, what are you talking about? Polaris appearing to descend to the horizon as you get closer to the equator. It's called perspective, not curvature, bro. How would planes be able to navigate? Yeah, it's just, I mean, come on, it's just so stupid. Just so stupid. Kekistani, the problem, Kekistani, is that you're retarded, dude. That's that's actually the crisis taking place. You actually are retarded. Marco Crane says this debate is terrible. The debate's over, dude. That was like 20 minutes ago. We got a question from Veb. What causes the Earth to be flat if nearly every single other observable planet is round? Well, number one, you're presupposing that we're surrounded by billions of planets. Number two, you're making an appeal to similarity. You're saying that that everything else in the universe is a sphere, and so the Earth must be a sphere too. You're making an appeal to similarity. The problem is, Earth is admittedly nothing like the other planets. Earth is the only planet to harbor consciousness and life. There's nothing else discovered out there that comes close to Earth. Earth is the exception to the rule in the known universe by mainstream science's own admission. So you're making an appeal to similarity. You're saying everything else is a certain way, so the Earth must be like everything else. The Earth is admittedly nothing like everything else by mainstream science's admission. So your argument falls flat. Kekistani refugee says flat Earth plus gay plus incel equals red pill philosophy. Thank you. And you know what? I'd rather be an incel any day than a cuck. And there's a lot of cucks out there. So keep an eye out for those cucks. Because I'll tell you right now, that's truly humiliating. Theo McGordy with another $2 super chat. I keep feeding you sarcastic cues and dollars. Thank you. Mr. Moore asks $5. The Mississippi River would have to go up over in thousands of feet, 650,000 feet of curvature elevation first, based on science's dimensions of Earth. I'd have to look into that, man. I've never heard of it. It's very interesting, though. I'll take a look. Oh, goody, goody, goody. I mean, no wonder people are afraid to step into Nathan Oakley's fucking live debate show. No wonder they're afraid to. I mean, that's why you can't get used to moderators babysitting you, saving you. You can't get used to that. Lori Letiaho says Flat Earth is a cult, guys. Lori, there's no greater cult than the spinning ball religion. And that's just like obvious. Someone says Red Pill philosophy is too logical not to be trolling. No, I'm serious. I'm actually serious. There's legitimate reasons to be skeptical of the globe model. That's why I call myself a globe skeptic. I mean, I don't even call myself a flat earther, but people like to say I'm a flat earther. I just call myself a globe skeptic. That's all I do. Kevin, no one banned you, bro. Ha! Vegan gains would most probably get destroyed by every flat earther on the face of the planet. He's shit on flat earth before, but obviously vegan gains, he's busy doing his bit, so he's probably not really deep into the flat earth debate, and you have to be deep into it to be able to hold your own water. Avatar Delta says high IQ skeptic. That's what it is, man, and it's real. I got YouTube telling me that the stream is complete. Come on now. I want to say thank you to the guys who have donated via PayPal. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for that. Really, really appreciate it. We got some donations coming in via PayPal. Looks like the health of the stream is kind of low again. Hopefully you guys can hear me. You know what I might do, guys? I'm kind of bored. I kind of feel like opening a live public link so that anybody can jump in here and let's talk about shit. That's what I feel like doing. Should I do it though? That's the question. A bit hungry. I have to go eat something. Live public link hangout. The thing is, I know that if I put the public link out, I'm gonna be here for another 3 fucking hours. I fucking know it. It's what happened last time. Alright. Okay, alright. I'm gonna do a public link. I'm gonna do a public link just to fuck around and see what happens. Because why the hell not? Just double check something on this side. That over there. just to see what happens, just to see who joins. All right, and let's click on this. Gotta make a new hangout. Let's go ahead and create video call. Just to have a few people jump in, see what's going on. Copy link. Mute that bitch. And we're going to keep it on this side because we don't want stuff happening. And okay, let me go ahead and update the info. Now, I am probably setting myself up to get trolled because I'm sure a lot of soulless engineers, godless engineers, trolls are probably watching right now. So they're probably going to join and be dumbass trolls, and that's fine. It only makes them look stupid and childish. So I just put a link, guys, to a public hangout right down there in the description of the video. You might have to refresh the page to join. But the link is in there now. I'm going to spam it in the chat here real quick. So if any of you guys want to jump in and join. We'll just talk for a little bit. I'm a bit tired, so I don't know how long I'll be here for. But anybody wants to jump in and talk? Maybe you have some critique about tonight's debate. Maybe you have some suggestions, or maybe you thought there were areas of improvement or certain arguments that I missed. Looks like we got somebody in here. Don't know if you're a troll or not. Can you hear me? All right. Well, if you're trying to porn bomb me, you can't porn bomb me. What's up, everybody? Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, can any of you guys hear me?
Can you guys hear me?
Yo, what's up, guys?
Yeah.
Hey, can any of you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yeah.
You guys hear me?
Yo, what's up, guys? Hey, if any of you guys have the YouTube live stream still playing in the background, please mute it or please pause it. Please mute it or please pause your live page if it's in the...
Okay, done.
All right. Okay, go ahead. Do we got any Godless Engineer trolls in here?
So, I muted it.
Still playing in the background. Please mute it or please...
Stop.
Okay, does anybody want to say something?
Yeah. Movable Earth is experimentally reproducible, and I could do it many times. I could show you that the Earth is immovable many times.
Oh, immovable? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I could show you.
So what are you talking about? Are you talking about like Michelson Morley type stuff?
Yeah, but more elaborate, like using magnetic like the spatial energy generators, like John Searle, harmonics, and utilizing the because it wouldn't work on a globe. Like John Searle spatial energy generator, it wouldn't work on a globe because electromagnetism doesn't support the idea that. No, seriously, if you look it up, the spatial energy generator, it wouldn't work on a globe. It just wouldn't.
Sounds interesting. I don't know shit about it, so
Yeah, Dutch physicist in 1930s named John Searle. He innovated the spatial energy generator. As a matter of fact, a lot of people misinterpret it as a UFO, but it's actually just spinning magnets with neodymium core and mercury, spinning mercury.
So, are you a flat earther?
Yeah, I'm a flat. I'm a biblical. I'm a Christian. I believe 100% flat Earth, like infinitely horizontal, and not infinitely vertical, like limited vertical, like to about 120,000 probably. I think 120,000 is the firmament, or around 115,000, 120,000.
Okay, interesting.
I've seen independent weather balloon launches that explode, and not just on YouTube. I've seen them in real life that explode and come back down in pieces, and then camera survives. What's up?
You talking about rockets hitting the dome?
Nah, just high-powered like weather balloons.
Yeah,
like high helium, just incredible materials like carbon fiber materials and different things, and expandable. What is it called? This type of forget. It's like a plastic mixed with like a fabric. It's crazy. It's like
Hey, more. So what's up, man? What's your position on all this?
Well, I used to be of the sort where I kind of believed the globe model, and then someone challenged me about 5 months ago.
Hmm.
So I started out doing my own little experiments, trying to prove the heliocentric model myself, and I could not. No matter what I do, no matter what experiment I tried, I could not duplicate it. I did the experiment. I live in San Pedro, California, so I walk to the beach, 5 minute walk. I get my camera. I look out at the ships, and sure enough, if you got, I don't have a P900, but I have a super. I have a telescope that attaches to my phone, and whatever I couldn't see with my own eyes, I could zoom in with that telescope, and I could see it just as it would come right back. Um,
Right.
and here's an example: at sea level, I could see on a clear day. I could see it just it would come right back.
Hey guys, please mute your watch page if you're in here.
Here's an example: at sea level, I could see on a clear day. I could see it just it would come right back.
Hey guys, please mute your watch page if you're in here. Hey, someone's got to mute their watch page. Someone's got to mute their watch page. Somebody's got the video playing in the background. Yeah, I'm gonna have to end this. Hey, I'm gonna have to end this because I don't have mute or boot buttons here.
wait, Greg, can you invite me? Can you invite me? Can you add me? Invite me. I'm gonna add you.
Jesus, sorry, I can barely hear you. Say that again.
Red, I have lots of stuff. I have lots of information.
Yeah, sorry. So, yeah, and that's it, man. So it was a great night, man. That was fun. That was lively. That was fun. That was great. Sorry for everybody. I had to hang up on you. Someone joined and didn't mute the watch page. So, there's another version of Hangouts. It's called Hangouts on Air, I think, and that gives you controls to mute people and to boot people and all that good stuff. So, I apologize to everybody I had to hang up on. I'm sure we'll cross paths again. Oh man. Well, it's all right, B Note. You can always go back and watch it later. Hashtag mustache life. Mustache life. It's an incredible mustache. I mean, what else needs to be said, really? And for those who are new, a lot of these Globers have been mocking my mustache lately, so I'm just trolling back. Laurie says, no wonder this guy has lost subs since Flat Earth. Well, I did lose some subs 2 years ago when I first started talking about Flat Earth, but I've recently had a massive explosion in subscribers. So, but I don't do it for the subscribers. You might, Lori, you might care about subs, but I don't. Yeah, sorry about that, Chocolate saying. I mean, honestly, I'm not even doing it right. I should be doing a Hangouts on air. And that gives me all the controls to boot, fucktards who come in and don't mute their fucking watch page. So, Hugh Janice says he bought his subs. Okay, you go find evidence of that and get back to me. No, I've never felt any inclination to buy subs. I guess if you're chasing fame and money, you'd buy subs. I don't see the point. I mean, I'm not going to say having a lot of subscribers is a bad thing. I mean, it's nice. But I'm definitely not here for the subscribers, for the subscriber count. I'm not here to boost it. If I was, I would have turned my channel into the Trump News Network. And right after Trump won, I would have been 24/7 Trump news. Sell a billion shirts, sell a gazillion this, and it just, if I cared about subs and all I wanted was money, that's what I would have done. I would have never started talking about flat Earth. That's for damn sure. Yeah. Gleam says, tell Godless Engineer the cosmological constant confirms intelligent design. No scientist thinks it's by accident. Has he run off already? Yeah, he kind of brought it to an abrupt end. He won't call it rage quit, but it was an abrupt end. And I think it happened when I was unwilling to just sit there and let him talk indefinitely. When I was really asserting myself, I think he said it's time to rage quit. And that's why I don't allow moderators when I debate people, because moderators are just babysitters, especially when both of the moderators are pro-globe atheists. Come on. Don't market it as 1 versus 1 when it's 3 versus 1 with 2 pro-globe moderators. Come on now. Silly. Bam. 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 Ego engineer. No, I think that someone says high IQ forever. Exactly. Yeah. So it's like all about like shocking levels of high IQ is what it's about. Yeah, no, I don't. You know what? I call him. I think my final resting name for Godless Engineer is going to be Godless Intelligent Designer, because that's what an engineer does. They intelligently design things, and so he's godless intelligent designer. That's all he is. Take an IQ test on the stream. Yep, he intelligently designs. God does not. I know. That's what you atheists think. I know. You think intelligence and consciousness came out of space rocks blowing up for no reason out of nothing. That's what you guys think. I don't have enough faith to believe in such an insane chance coincidence. Hugh Janus says, Rip of Philosophy, prove your high IQ, take a test live. First, you have to prove to me your EQ. You have to prove your EQ. And if you're too stupid to know what EQ is, Google it. It's emotional quotient. And it has to do with just your basic ability to interact with people, basic interpersonal skills. So please tell me what your EQ is, your emotional quotient. And if you give me that, then I'll explain to you why I'm asking for your EQ score. If you get back to me with your EQ score, I'll explain to you why, and then we can talk about my IQ. Chloe Wright says, people who actually have a high IQ generally don't feel the need to mention it at any given opportunity. Well, if you're directing that as criticism towards me, then I would just tell you that You gotta show me your EQ score, EQ, emotional quotient. You gotta get back to me with that. Well, guys, I think I'm done here for tonight. I probably would have kept going, but it's just I gotta get the right version of Hangout. So. Listen, again, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate all your time. I want to say thank you to everybody who supported me in the super chats. You guys did great. Listen, Mr. Moore, Jamari, Jamari Moore. Listen, Jamari Moore, thank you for the super chat. I think you had showed up in that live hangout, and I'm sorry to have hung up on you, man. Just get into contact with me. If you really want to talk, and if you have anything really interesting you want to share, and you can come on my show and we'll do it. We got Glow Busters up in the chat. I think it's the real Glow Busters. Not sure, but if it is, thanks. Really appreciate it. That's it basically. That's basically it. Yeah. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. Okay, guys. I will talk to you all later. Peace out.